could write it in the chat, or at the end, just ask me. And it could be that you'll get your question answered as I present. So hi, I'm Suzanne Garcia-Matteus. In Spanish, I go by Susana. I'm the coordinator for the Bilingual Authorization Program. I'm also the director of the Monterey Institute for English Learners, and I'm an assistant professor at CSU Monterey Bay. So one of the biggest announcements I have about the bilingual authorization, apart from the details that I'm just going to share with you, is that the classes are available. They've always been available in the summer. Now they're going to be available in the fall, starting fall 2023. And I'm really excited about that because it is a semester-long class. So we get to really delve deeply into bilingual education and bilingualism topics and issues. So I invite you to consider taking classes in the fall as well, or not as well. It's either one or the other. Actually, I say that, but you could take one class in the summer and finish the next 2 classes in the fall, or 2 classes in the summer and finish the last class in the fall. So I like to share a little bit about me because I've learned that when I'm talking to potential bilingual educators, sometimes they're wondering whether or not they should be a bilingual teacher. And so I want to encourage you to become one. So one way I do that is just by sharing a little bit about myself and how I grew up with Spanish and English. So that's me on the right in kindergarten. And I started kindergarten mostly speaking Spanish with some English. My mom said, es que entendías más inglés que hablabas. So I didn't understand all the English I was hearing. So I was what they would call an English learner, and what I would call as a bilingual person, bilingual 5-year-old. I like to share that I also identify as a first-generation college student and Chicana. Chicana just means Mexican-American, born and raised in the U.S. You don't have to be born here to identify as Chicana, but that's me. And that's me with my sisters. I'm in the middle. I am the middle sibling. And that's my graduation from my bachelor's at the University of Texas at Austin. And then this last picture here, you're missing a lot of information, but I was a bilingual educator for 6 years, teaching in Spanish, sometimes in English. And eventually I went and got my PhD in bilingual education and bilingualism at UT Austin, where I did my undergrad. And that's a picture of me and Doctora Maria Villaseñor. I don't know if you know her, but she teaches ethnic studies here on campus. We went to the Latinx graduation last year, and we'll probably go again this year because we loved it so much. And so I like to share this information because I grew up speaking Spanish in a Chicanx, Latinx neighborhood in Southern California. And I became a bilingual teacher because I saw that there was a need in Austin, but it never really occurred to me that I could use my Spanish to teach in Spanish. And so if you're unsure, come talk to me, send me an email, we can set up a Zoom. So just let me know. But for now, we'll talk about the Bilingual Authorization Program. So what is it? What is the Bilingual Authorization? All of our students that become part of the Bilingual Authorization Program, they register and apply as is required at the very end of their credential program. Because the bilingual authorization is just that. It's an authorization. It's not a credential. And so it's an added authorization to a credential. And so it allows you to teach ELD, as it says here. It allows you or offers opportunities for you to teach in Spanish in any classroom setting in Spanish that's designated as a Spanish class. It offers you the opportunity to teach SADAI here. That's an acronym, just depends on the school context. And most importantly, as it says here, it's instruction delivered in Spanish. Our program is just in Spanish. All of our courses are in Spanish, which I'll share in a little bit. But like I said, other CSUs offer different languages. The bilingual authorization is for all teachers, whether they're in the elementary or secondary classrooms. So as I mentioned, one of the prerequisites is that you have a valid teaching credential already. That's why everybody that enters our program is like right after they graduate in May, they enter our program. If you have a emergency California teaching credential, that does not count as a valid California teaching credential. It has to be an actual one. It cannot be an emergency one. So I just described when people enter the program, there are also at least half people that enter our program are already teachers. They're already teaching in Spanish. But they want to get the bilingual authorization because it's an added authorization. It opens up opportunities for more pay. There's a stipend that bilingual teachers get every year. And it's, you know, in our bilingual authorization classes, we're focused on like the most recent teaching pedagogy as well in Spanish. So that's important, I think, to add. You also need a valid language development specialist certificate, such as the CLAD or the English learner authorization. I think somebody was wondering if the BCLAD is the same thing as the bilingual authorization. Yes, it is. They just have, I think the BCLAD is what they used to call it, and now they call it the bilingual authorization. But you'll hear people refer to the bilingual authorization as the BCLAD. So they're just using it synonymously or interchangeably. So this previous slide, this one here, that applies to everybody. It's mostly to teachers in the classroom, but it does apply to everybody. But if you're in our program, actually this applies to teachers too. You need to have a passing score on the CSET 3. And the CSET 3 is a Spanish proficiency exam. It's going to assess your Spanish, your listening, speaking, reading, and writing in Spanish. If you haven't taken that yet, go register for it ASAP, because it is a requirement in order to get into the bilingual authorization program. You have time. We don't open up registration until April, and then registration will end a week before the class starts. Remember, there's 3 classes with 2 different start dates. And so that's about mid-June. So you do have time. And then the other thing you should know is that in order for the state to grant you the bilingual authorization, not only do you need to pass the CSET, but you also need at least a B- in the 3 courses, in the 3 bilingual authorization courses, which I'm about to describe. So as I mentioned, the 3 courses are offered this summer, and I'll give you the dates in just a second. And then we'll be offering the courses again this fall. And this is just a link to a leaflet about the bilingual authorization. A lot of what I'm describing here today is in that leaflet, but we can share this PowerPoint with you and you can have access to that link. So these are the courses that are part of our bilingual authorization program. As I mentioned, all of the courses are taught in Spanish. I would say they're taught in Spanish and Spanglish. And the first class is a methods course, and it's going to run from June 12th to June 23rd. So it's 2 weeks. And it's Monday through Friday. It's hybrid, which means Monday, Wednesday, Friday, you'll meet on Zoom from 4 to 650. And then Tuesdays and Thursdays, you'll meet in a classroom on campus in Seaside. So it's very important that you attend all of the classes because it's a very intense program. And then the second class, you're in an actual classroom, either in Salinas, Watsonville, or Soledad. And that's a whole month. So the way we've done it is you do not go to a placement for a whole month unless you want to. But I ask students to go consistently over a period of 2 weeks at least. where you have an opportunity to learn the routines, observe, and teach 2 lessons, a math lesson in Spanish and a language arts lesson in Spanish. And so again, you don't have to go the whole month, but I do ask that you work with a cooperating teacher, a mentor teacher, which I assign students to mentor teachers, and that you come up with a consistent schedule, because kids need consistency. You can't like show up 1 week and then come back 2 weeks later. Like that's not going to work. It has to be a consistent schedule. And then the last class, that's 2 weeks also, more like 9 days because of 4th of July, is called Culture and Education of Latinx Students. And that's all in person from 4 p.m. to 6:50 here on campus at CSU Monterey Bay and Seaside. So the different modalities, please take note. And then again, you can register up until 1 week before the start of each class. So those are the classes. And now I'm going to share a little bit about each class. So the field experience, that's the 1 month long where you make your own schedule with a mentor teacher. That's where you're applying theory that you've learned in our classes in the classroom through the teaching of 2 lessons. It says here online or face-to-face, but it is all face-to-face. That's a typo from the years past because we've had so many changes because of COVID in terms of modality. But this one is now 100% face-to-face in a school setting. You'll be working in a bilingual classroom. Most of them are dual language, which you'll learn about dual language programs if you haven't done so already in this program. And on the website, we said you'll either be in Salinas or Watsonville, but most recently Soledad has expressed an interest. And so we have a 3rd school district that we're working with. So in this class, like I said, you're teaching 2 lessons and then you're writing a lot of like reflective narratives. They're not a lot. I said a lot, but there's not a lot. You're just writing reflective narratives about the whole experience thus far of being in a bilingual classroom. And then the methods course, that's where you're learning about how to plan, develop, implement lessons. So really focused on bilingual pedagogy, but you're also learning about bilingual education and bilingualism. And that runs, like I said, for 2 weeks. And there's the modalities that I already described. So it's a hybrid course. And then the last class is more of a history class about the culture and education of Latinx students. And we look at, like it says there, the history, the social, political, and economic forces that have really shaped the schooling experiences of Latinx children in the United States. And that runs for 2 weeks and it's all in person. So these 3 courses, along with the CSET 3, the Spanish proficiency test, is what will grant you the Bilingual Authorization program. Before I go back, let me go to a different slide. One of the things I wanted to say is that all the CSETs right now, remember you have to take the CSET 3 in order to be admitted to our program. All the CSETs are free right now. So you should go register because it's free. Like the state is doing that temporarily. So be sure to register. I like to show this calendar because it really shows you how intense the program is. It's an intense month. It's a busy month. You're going to be reading a lot. You're going to be writing a lot. You're going to be teaching. You're going to be having presentations in the classroom. Y todo en español, o en Spanglish, de los dos. So this is what your schedule will look like. The Ed 604, that's the teaching one, practicum, starts right away. And there is an orientation day. One of them is on June 8th that school districts would like you to come. You don't have to stay the whole time, but they want you to, if you can, come, because I know some people might be teaching. And meet the mentor teacher and just get oriented with the school and the curriculum. And then the Ed 610 course, as you can see here, it's 2 weeks. right? Hybrid. And then the last course, it's also 2 weeks and it goes into July. So it's an intense month, but at the end, you're a bilingual teacher and you will have learned a lot and spoken a lot of Spanish and Spanglish. So keep that in mind. Intense month, but well worth it. Oh, this is where I was going to talk a little bit more about the courses, but I kind of already said some of this, so I'll just leave it here for a second for you to look at. I believe I'm teaching this course and I like to use art in my courses. And so that's a piece of artwork by my colleague named Marta Samaniego Calderon. And so we'll use artwork to discuss topics. Here's the bilingual methods and teaching course. The other 2 courses will be taught by local teachers, local bilingual teachers. You'll have to wait and find out who they are, but just know that they're local teachers that teach in the Monterey County. Here's some information I haven't shared about the teaching practicum. It's 20 hours of a placement in one of those 3 cities or school districts. And it includes observations, participation, planning, practice, whatever the mentor teacher does is what you're doing. And then the 2 lesson plans that we ask you to teach in language arts and Spanish. If you're a secondary teacher, like say you are social studies teachers, then you would just teach 2 lessons in Spanish. We don't really have a time limit as to like how long you have to teach. Typically people teach for like 20 minutes or 30 minutes. It just depends on what they're teaching about. And then lastly, these classes will be offered via extended ed. So if you go to the CSUMB website and type bilingual authorization extended education, it'll come up. But you'll also see our website and the College of Ed, which is linked here. And on our website, it takes you, there's another link to the extended ed. It's the same information, except extended ed has a table of how much it costs. I think it's about $280 per unit, and it's a total of 9 units. But check the website. And then lastly, feel free to email me. There's my email for any questions. This you should know. There's a series, if you're going to apply, there's a series of steps involved. And the first one you may have already done is just filling out an interest Google form, which is on the Bilingual Authorization website through the College of Ed. If you scroll all the way to the bottom, you'll see interest Google form, and you click on it and you fill it out. Because I will be contacting you, everybody on there that has expressed an interest, like soon in the next 2 weeks. And I'm going to start setting up interviews with interested applicants. And that interview just includes about probably like 15-20 minutes of a conversation conmigo en español. Y les voy a hacer varias preguntas, por ejemplo, ¿de dónde eres? ¿Cómo aprendiste español? ¿Por qué quieres ser maestre o maestro o maestra bilingüe? ¿Has tomado el CSET? Things like that. So they're very like just basic questions. So please fill out the interest Google form so I can reach out to you for an interview. And then after that, you email Darlene Moitoso or Shauna Gannon a copy of your teacher credential, and then your passing CSET Spanish 3 exam. If you haven't passed it yet, please send us just proof that you're going to take it, and then we'll touch base with you again. But we'll also ask you to send us the proof that you passed. And so your registration would be pending until we have a passing score. And then once we have all those documents, then Darlene or Shauna, it's usually Darlene, by the way, will email the registration forms from Extended Ed. And so they'll send you like a PDF of a registration form. And then you fill it out without credit card information. Do not put credit card information on it. And then you email it right as it says there, extendeded@csumb.edu. And then extended ed will call you and ask for, payment information. And you should always ask if they have scholarships at extended ed. Sometimes they do. And then once all of that is like complete, extended ed will verify whether you've registered or not. And then at the very end, probably like June 1st-ish, I will email everybody like a welcoming letter to the Bilingual Authorization Program, and we'll start the conversation about placements. So it's kind of a lengthy process, but I'm always here and available to help you through the process. Así que muchísimas gracias. This is a good time to see if you have any questions for me. So I'm going to stop share. Oh, let's see. There's one question. What happens if we don't pass? I have the test on February 22nd. I've heard that dates are available until June, July already. Yeah, if you don't pass, that's tricky because the state of California will not grant you the bilingual authorization until you pass. And so I think you'll have to retake it. And then remember that you can register up until 1 week before each class. So it could be that you start 1 or 2 of the classes and then finish in the fall, the last class. And since in the fall, all the classes will be in the evening, except the placement one, that'll be during the day in the school. So, yeah. Any other questions?
I have a follow-up question. So do you have to pass it before you finish the last class?
Yeah, in the past, during COVID, we were lenient on that because a lot of the CTC testing centers were closed or they had shorter hours. But now we're saying, yes, you have to pass it before enrolling. Because there's been a few people that haven't been able to pass it even after they took the classes. And so it's kind of, I don't want to say a waste of time to spend because it's an intense month and then you can't get it. Like, so it's an investment on your part. So I think it's best, yeah, to like pass it and be sure to be able to enroll. Otherwise you can't get the,
Okay, so to clarify, you can't enroll in the classes until you've passed it.
yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay. I was kind of confused with your last one. I thought you said you can take 2 classes in the summer and then 1 class in the fall, but try to pass it before the fall. So
I said that. Yeah, I said that because someone, I think in the chat, said the next round of tests is in June. And so theoretically, it's to say that the exam's June 1st, and then they find out June 7th that they passed, and they could enroll, and so in 1 or 2 of the classes, or all of them, I guess, at that point, because we don't start till mid-June. Yeah.
Okay, so technically you could enroll without passing it.
No, you need to pass it. Sorry if that's causing confusion. Yes, you need to pass it. They'll just
Okay. Thank you. Does anybody else have any questions? You can either put it in the chat or go ahead and unmute yourself.
Would you still recommend taking the test if you struggle in writing in Spanish?
I would, yeah, because the way they assess, there's different levels. And the highest level is what they call superior, I believe, I may be getting the word wrong. But in the state of California, you don't have to be at the superior level. You have to be at the advanced low. And so it's beginner, novice, mid-level beginner, and then high-level beginner, something like that. And the same with intermediate. And so after intermediate high, it's advanced low. So yeah, I do think you should try, because it doesn't need to be like super advanced, it's advanced low.
Even if you're not good at writing in Spanish, I believe there was some, I just passed mine recently, so I believe there was some questions where the question is in Spanish and the reading is in Spanish, but you can respond to it in English. As long it's like basically just your understanding of the information they're giving. There's like two where you do need to type in Spanish, but it's more of your understanding of the question. But there is some questions where you can respond in English, but it is in Spanish reading it.
Thanks, Deanna, for sharing that.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I would give it a try, Fatima. I mean, when I took my Spanish proficiency test in Texas a long time ago, I was kind of in a similar position. I was like, I don't know, like, I don't know how my writing is going to be like, but it was fine. It was the level that they needed and wanted for bilingual teachers. And so, and you might surprise yourself. You might actually be at a higher level than you think.
Just don't overthink it. Like I didn't really use acentos and all that in it. So if that's what you're worried about using the right acentos stuff, I don't really think they focused on that much. It's just that you understand what you're reading and what they're asking for. So just don't overthink it and take the test. You'll be fine.
Gracias, Diana.